Look at the number, 2016.
Carrying or possession?
Both. 2016, the number of violent deaths in Brazil. And that's where firearms come in, a large part of it. 61,000 people dying. Last year, 41,000. In other words, with my policy, or corroborated by it, it decreased by 20,000. If it had increased, the press would have been stepping down as it decreased.
Nobody talks. But is there a direct correlation?
I think there is, because the thing is, when a person is going to commit a crime, he feels more at ease, the more certain he is, that no one will offer him more resistance. Nowadays, you can see it in the field. We approved extended possession. Until recently, you could use your weapon in the field inside your house. Now you can get on, ride a horse, a bicycle, a car, right? You can carry a firearm throughout the perimeter of your farm. In my opinion, this helped to deter people. Because I understand that invading your house, your apartment, your farm is the same thing. Private property must be sacred. No one can invade your private property. And that helped to inhibit it. You can see violence in the countryside has decreased a lot. Not only against people, but against animals. Until recently, it was very common for people to invade your property without you knowing, stab the ox in the leg, and then stab the termite, and leave the ox there in agony. This has decreased a lot. For example, theft of agricultural pesticides has also decreased. Now, it's the fear of guns. In my government, we have practically doubled the number of KC. It is the collector, shooter, and hunter. There are almost 700,000 of us. So, firearms have become present. Now you may ask, why didn't the Supreme Court overturn this? Because it was a minister who asked for views to the decrees, and there is no deadline for delivery. This goes for any minister, for any project, for anything. Then the minister asked for views and sat on top.
So in this case, the SDF was good for you?
No, in this case it was good, given this minister, he asked for views. Because we know the left Viad, the majority of the Supreme Court ministers who are in favor of disarmament, but they don't give up armed security or armored cars.
But it is the left-wing bias, President, because I personally do not consider myself right-wing. I do not consider myself left-wing. I like to take each subject and look at it according to my life experience. So I'm in favor of relaxing gun laws and such, but I'm also in favor of relaxing marijuana, for example. So it's a left-wing agenda and a right-wing agenda, but they are part of my worldview. So, is this idea, this way that the SDF proposes itself and such, or is it okay for us to apply this idea of left and right to all the decisions that people make?
I said bias, didn't I? Everyone is left-wing, and so the right-wing author is roasted. The Supreme Court, in this case, would be interfering in an action by the executive because I have the power to regulate laws by decree. And by ordinances, it also goes one step further. When you take a firearm from a law-abiding citizen, do you do any harm to third parties? I don't think so. Now, for example, marijuana.
It's just that for a law-abiding citizen, it's hard for you.
You can have an outburst, yes. Yes. But there are a series of exams for you to acquire your weapon. When you talk about marijuana, I'm not persecuting the user. I never said that the user has to be arrested. We inhibit drug trafficking here in Brazil. You can see a person who smokes marijuana, for example.
I know a lot of them, President.
Everyone knows someone who smokes, right? He doesn't say it, but we feel it. For example, the reaction time to a stimulus is increased.
Yes, for sure.
It is increased. It is increased. So me and you, for example, since you said that you smoke.
No, I don't smoke. I smoke nicotine. I don't smoke marijuana, no.
So you were in favor of releasing it. So two people driving, between noticing a danger light, and they steer a little to one side or the other to avoid an accident. That fraction of a second, for the person using it, can be fatal for them and for third parties.
It can. But, President, yes. Just so we can break the ice here, you have never, ever taken Never driven a car for Mr. Stoned, because this guy is going to go at 30 kilometers h.
My wife complained to me one day because she is quite discreet that when she was driving in Brasilia, she was obliged to drive safely. Even with my daughter, she was obliged to drive safely. She complained because she thought she was going 40 miles per hour in Brasilia. Then I spoke